Dorie Miller, October 12, 1919, November 24, 1943, was an African-American sailor in the United States Navy whose courage during the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor made him one of the most celebrated American heroes of World War II. At a time when the Navy was racially segregated and black sailors were largely restricted to service roles, Miller's actions under fire challenged prevailing assumptions about race and military service. He became the first African-American to receive the Navy Cross, and his story remains a powerful example of bravery, duty, and sacrifice. Born in Waco, Texas, Miller was the son of Connery and Henrietta Miller and grew up on his family's farm during the Great Depression. Like many young men of his generation, he sought greater opportunities than those available in rural Texas. Known for his physical strength, athletic ability, and quiet determination, he attended local schools and excelled in sports, particularly football. Economic hardship and limited prospects led him to enlist in the U.S. Navy on September 16, 1939, shortly after war had broken out in Europe. Because of racial discrimination within the Navy, Miller entered service as a mess attendant third class, one of the few ratings open to African Americans at the time. Black sailors were generally excluded from technical and combat assignments and were expected to perform duties such as cooking, serving meals, and cleaning officers' quarters. After completing training, Miller served aboard the ammunition ship USS Pyro before being assigned in 1940 to the battleship USS West Virginia. Shipmates remembered him as hardworking, dependable, and an accomplished boxer who won the ship's heavyweight championship. On the morning of December 7, 1941, Miller was aboard the USS West Virginia at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, when Japanese aircraft launched their surprise attack on the U.S. Pacific Fleet. The battleship was struck by multiple torpedoes and bombs, causing devastating damage and heavy casualties. Miller's assigned battle station was rendered unusable by the attack, but instead of seeking shelter, he immediately began assisting wounded sailors and helping move them to safety through smoke, fire, and flooding compartments. Among those seriously injured was Captain Mervyn Bennion, the commanding officer of the West Virginia. Despite intense enemy fire and exploding ammunition, Miller helped carry and assist wounded crew members while attempting to aid the mortally wounded captain. As the battle continued, Miller was directed to an unattended .50 caliber Browning anti-aircraft machine gun. Although he had received no formal training on the weapon, he quickly learned how to operate it and began firing at attacking Japanese aircraft. He continued engaging enemy planes until he ran out of ammunition. The exact effectiveness of his gunfire remains uncertain, but witnesses consistently praised his composure, determination, and courage. More important than the number of aircraft he may have hit was the fact that he voluntarily entered a combat role during one of the most dangerous moments in American military history. His actions demonstrated exceptional initiative and disregard for his own safety while helping save lives and defend his ship. Initially, Miller's heroism received little public attention. However, black newspapers and civil rights advocates highlighted his actions and demanded official recognition. As his story became widely known, public pressure grew for the Navy to honor him appropriately. On May 27, 1942, Admiral Chester W. Nimitz personally presented Miller with the Navy Cross during a ceremony at Pearl Harbor. The award citation praised his distinguished devotion to duty, extraordinary courage, and disregard for his own personal safety. The presentation was historically significant because Miller became the first African-American recipient of the Navy Cross, then the Navy's second highest award for valor. Following his recognition, Miller became a symbol of patriotic service and wartime unity. He participated in war bond tours and public appearances, where he was celebrated as a national hero. For many African Americans, his achievements represented proof that black service members could perform with distinction when given the opportunity. His story also exposed the contradictions of a nation fighting for freedom abroad while maintaining racial segregation at home. Miller later served aboard the heavy cruiser USS Indianapolis before transferring in 1943 to the escort carrier USS Liscome Bay. During operations in the Pacific Theater, the ship participated in the campaign to capture the Gilbert Islands. On November 24, 1943, a Japanese submarine torpedoed the carrier near Makin Atoll. The torpedo detonated the ship's bomb magazine, causing a catastrophic explosion. The vessel sank rapidly, and more than 600 crew members were killed. Doris Miller was among the dead. He was only 24 years old, and his remains were never recovered. In death, Miller's reputation continued to grow. Historians increasingly recognized him as both a military hero and an important figure in the broader struggle for racial equality in the United States. His service helped demonstrate the capabilities of African American sailors and contributed to growing pressure for military reform. Less than 5 years after his death, President Harry S. Truman issued Executive Order 9981, which began the process of desegregating the U.S. Armed Forces. Numerous honors have been bestowed in his memory. Schools, streets, parks, and public buildings across the United States bear his name. In 1973, the Navy commissioned the frigate USS Miller in his honor. Even more significantly, the Navy announced that the aircraft carrier USS Doris Miller, CVN-81, would be named after him, making him one of the few enlisted sailors in American history to receive such a distinction. His legacy is preserved through museums, memorials, educational programs, and annual commemorations of the Pearl Harbor attack. Dorie Miller's life was brief, but his impact was profound. A sailor assigned to one of the lowest positions available because of his race became one of the most respected heroes of World War II. His courage at Pearl Harbor demonstrated that heroism is defined not by rank, status, or background, but by a willingness to act when others are in danger. More than 80 years after his death, Dorie Miller remains a symbol of valor, perseverance, and the ongoing pursuit of equality in American society.